This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Prepare yourself for some off-the-cuff book talk as I tackle another middle grade book chapter by chapter. The Secret Garden Chapter 2 was interesting, very compelling. One little complaint I have about it is that I didn't notice, now I'm listening to it at like 1.5 speed, so I didn't notice the break from Chapter 2 into Chapter 3, and I'm not sure why. I'm sure it's because I'm listening to it, not because I'm not reading it with my eyes, so I would obviously notice a chapter break, or, Chapter 3, I would notice that, but it blended in perhaps a little too much, perhaps a little too well. I don't really know. It could very well be the speed at which I was listening to it. So that's a little bit of an issue. Chapter 2 was 16 minutes long. Chapter 1 was like 8 or 9 minutes long. I think Chapter 3 is similar. It's closer to 8 to 10. Did I say inches long? I meant minutes long. Of course. You knew that already because you're smarter than me. Anyway, so that complaint aside, that it was a little runny together, and there's a lack of distinctness there is really my issue, is that I do think it stood on its own. It built upon what would happen last. We got to see Mary Lennox in two situations. One, where she's in this home of this family being taken care of, and two, where she's being transported to her uncle's home, which I don't remember the name of. It's a huge estate on a moor, for some reason, on the edge of a moor. It's a 100-room house, which is insane, but I mean, they had those at the time, and I mean, they still have them now, but they were a little bit more prevalent, a little more, let's say, used at that time than they are at this time. So anyway, that was interesting to hear about, and she learns about her uncle a little bit, and what's really interesting is she's staying with this couple who has, I think, 5 kids who are all around the same age, so, back-to-back births, I guess. And one of them is old enough. A boy, his dialogue did sound a little fishy because we don't know how old he is. Is he 7? Is he 8? Is he 10? Is he 12? I don't know. But they could have a 12, 11, 10, 9, 8-year-old. And if she's only 6, or perhaps she's 7 by this time, that would all work out, that they would all be around the same age. I don't know, maybe. But the way he spoke was a little bit too clear, a little bit too eloquent without knowing his age and assuming that he's supposed to be around her age because she still feels pretty young. So that's a second complaint. But still, what he told her about, and what he did was he actually teased her because she doesn't know anything like girls usually do, is that she didn't know that she was moving to the house of her uncle, what the estate was called, what his name is, which I can't remember what it is at the moment, but it's kind of a interesting name. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's almost a little bit too much of a name, I think, is the issue. But whatever. That's fine. It's interesting because it sets her expectations, and then it's paid off while she's riding on the train. And this did confuse me a little bit too. The lady who she's riding with, I'm assuming, or my understanding, is that she's the mother of this know-it-all boy and these other children that Mary didn't like, and who gave Mary the nickname, the epithet, whatever, of Mary quite contrary, because she always would say no to things, and was very disagreeable, because that's what she learned. That's what she was shown. That's what she was taught, to go ahead and be disagreeable all the time, and to not compromise, not give in to others. Anyway, so it sounds to me like this lady is in the service of the Lord, or the man, the uncle, who, it's going to bug me that I don't remember his name right now. Anyway, it's kind of a great name though. Anyway, so it sounds like she's in his employ, and that's why she's traveling with Mary back to the home. But I also thought she was staying with a clergyman. So I think it's just the one family. I think it must be like an Episcopalian or like a Anglican or something priest with a wife and children, and his wife is like a maid or a governess or some sort of staff member at the uncle's house. And in transition for her to move from India to his place, he stayed with her for a while they were getting stuff ready or whatever is what it sounds like. And anyway, she takes a train ride with Mary. I'm hoping that there wasn't a handoff to a second lady, and then she took the train ride with her. I think it's the same lady throughout. Anyway, so she takes this train ride with Mary to the uncle's house, and she basically gets like an exposition dump, but it doesn't feel like an exposition dump, and it's interesting, and it's kind of compelling, and we get to see her character textured. The lady ends up kind of like having a little tiff with her, and she says that she's like a little old lady and that she's apathetic. She's like, well, why don't you care about these things? And Mary, like, in spite of herself or whatever, like, refuses to engage and refuses to ask questions because she doesn't want to seem like she's interested in stuff. So anyway, like, it's kind of delightful. The like the bickering and the fighting and the conflict created by Mary's pigheadedness is interesting, and I'm enjoying what it's doing in the story and enjoying how it's creating conflict with her and other characters, and it's all being done in a very interesting way. And she's still a little punk, you know, she's a little kid, so you can forgive her a little bit for that. Also, she's a character, so it's understandable. But yeah, she's a little bit of a punk, and again, the book knows that. It's on purpose. The author knows that. The characters know it, and they don't like her because she's unlikable, and that's what I like. That's what I like. But I am interested in being so much in Mary's head, even though this is third person limited, which is the preferred and the correct way to write things. Thank you very much, people who like to write in first person. But anyway, it's the correct way to write things because it can be so interesting. It can be so it's, you know, it gives you the scope where you can be with anybody in the world for your story. But when you're with your main character, you're allowed to get insights with them by joining them in their thoughts, and we get to hear some of Mary's thinking and how she's kind of assessing the situation. And like, she goes from feeling bad for her uncle who's a hunchback and had a beautiful wife who died, to like disliking him after she hears that she's going to be restricted and not allowed to just have her way entirely because she's this tyrant still. And it's interesting because you get to see her flip-flop, and then you get to see that, okay, this is going to set up tension and conflict for her and him later on in the book. But still, there's a little chance that there's going to be some sort of redemption, and there's that chance for there to be sympathy from him, or from her to him, which could help to grow her as a character. And we'll just have to see how that turns out in the next chapter, or what happens in the next chapter. So I'm done with this for now. Let me know what you thought of the book, what you thought of chapter 2 of The Secret Garden, and yeah, until next time. I hope you enjoyed that. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. I invite you to comment, ask questions, and share your thoughts with me. It's always more fun when you're part of the conversation. Until next time, keep reading, be well, and do good things. Visit mjmunoz.com for more of my work and help me build up the Fortress Fiction.